82. I would love to help you. As always, my time has gone so fast, but I want to say thank you. I love you. And tomorrow, we'll hear from me again. But go get your shepherd's guide and call those people. Love you. Bye-bye.
We're a family you can turn to. We're the book that brings you home. So turn to the pages of the Shepherd's Guide for the service you're looking for. Pick it up, the Shepherd's Guide. Look us up in the Shepherd's Guide. Call us up, see why we say it's the Christian's choice of Carol pages.
To advertise or receive your free copy, call 716-688-3882.
Serving Lockport and Dunkirk. We're Power 96.5 FM, 1080 AM. WUFO, Amherst, Buffalo.
For the next hour, you will be listening to Living Now with L. Nathan Hare. The phone lines are now open at 837-1112, and we encourage your questions and comments. Now, without further ado, here's your host, L. Nathan Hare.
All right, here we go. Living Now, living right now. This is L. Nathan here, your host here for this next hour at WFO Power 96.5 FM on your dial. Our principal sponsor, of course, is the Community Action Organization of Western New York, still fighting the war on poverty, now in our 53rd year. Each week, I want to welcome all again to this hour of insight, introspection, and interpretation of facts, events, and trends affecting you right here and right now in Buffalo and Western New York, and in fact, connect you to communities all across the country. Each week, we focus on things we think will be of interest to you, which will serve to motivate you and serve to connect you to the broader issues that affect our communities here in Western New York. Now, today's program is live, so you can call and you can join our discussion. I hope that you will. Our number here again is 837-1112. That's 837-1112. I want to take today's program to talk. I don't usually talk programmatically about a specific kind of program track, but this I just think is important, which is how we prepare our students for the Scholastic Achievement Test or the American College Test. These are the two criteria tests you have to get through in order for you to be able to qualify to get into a college, not quite so much for a vocational certification program, although I think they do look at your ACT and SAT scores for entrance into those programs as well. But the important thing is if you do well on your ACTs and your SATs, you are virtually guaranteed admittance to at least one or more colleges within New York State. If you don't do well on your SATs, you tend to get consigned. You can only get into a 2-year college program or a non-college program, and that's going to limit the heights that you may be able to climb if you prepared yourself better for those SAT and ACT exams. One of the things that we always talk about is the gap between the success of African students, poor students, what we call disadvantaged students, compared with the success of Asian American students and generally Caucasian, middle class Caucasian students. The gap in the test performance. In fact, because of the gap in people's lack of success, if I can say it that way, in taking and doing well on those entrance exams, because of their lack of success, a middle income Caucasian student is 6 times more likely to graduate from college, from a 4-year college, than a low income student. This is a class assault. I mean, I hate to say it quite that way, but it is a class assault. It's because they're all kids. They start out at 0 age and they get to be 18 all on the same timeline. You know, it's not like you get to be 18 in 16 years, in 20 years. We all get to be 18 at the same time. We're all going through a public school system. The public school system is supposed to have the same goals, whether you're going to a private school or a parochial school or a charter school or regular public school. They all have the same goal, I presume, which is to get you educated enough that you'd be able to qualify to get into a degree conferring program or in a certificate conferring program immediately after you finish high school. if that's the case, regardless of your income status in your household, you should see very similar outcomes in terms of children's preparation and success in taking the SAT and the SAT exams. But that's not what we see, right? What we see is that the success rate for the low-income students is dramatically lower than the success rate for middle-income students. And when you factor in race, it becomes an even more dramatic difference. So we can whine about that, which is, our usual programmatic response. We say, boy, that's just terrible how they treat us. And then we go on, eating oodles and noodles and, whatever else that we do. I'm suggesting to us that we have to have a more proactive kind of an approach, that we have to do things ourselves as parents, and then we have to drive the people that run our schools to do things for us as the customers of the schools. Now, you probably didn't know this, right? But you are the customer of the school district that your child lives in. Somebody gets paid. You don't pay people unless you're getting something, right? So the people that are getting paid, they're workers and business owners, so to speak, and the people who are supposed to get something, they're the customers. Well, there's something wrong if the people who get paid regularly every 2 weeks, or if they're a contractor, they get paid every month. But if you as the customer don't get what you're paying for, that's not a good customer relationship, is it? Work with me on this, right? You go to Macy's to get a dress, and you give Macy's, $100, and you leave Macy's and you don't get a dress. You just get told that, yep, you were here. We saw you come through the door. Right? You wouldn't accept that. That would be completely insane, right? But I know I'm being silly with it, but from a principle perspective, that is what's happening with us right now. You are paying your taxes into the state system, into the federal system, into your city system to provide services to you. One of the services that are supposed to be being provided to you is a public school system in which every single child gets a sound basic education. If you're getting a sound basic education, you should be able to complete the ACT or the SAT or both exams and use that as your launch point for you to get into a 2-year or a 4-year college program, degree program, or get into a vocational certification program. If that's not what happened, you didn't get what you were paying for. Now, sometimes you don't get what you paid for because you bought the car, and then before they brought the car out from the back from the prep shop, you drove off in your own car and never went to pick up the car you bought. You forgot about it, okay? Maybe that's what happened. I'm hoping that you haven't forgotten about the fact that you owe your child a successful education from birth through 12th grade. You owe your child a successful education. If you succeed in helping your child achieve the goals of elementary and high school education, your child is going to be able to get into a vocational certification program or into a degree conferring program that's going to set your child up for the rest of her or his life. Your child is going to have something they can put in front of an employer that says, I have this certified, evidenced preparation for the job market. I can do these sets of things. I can do them quite well. Doesn't matter whether I can interview well, whether I smile nice, in the interview. You have a piece of paper in front of you that certifies that I have this level of skill and this level of preparation. That's what's going to get you in the door. Once you start making your $35,000, $40,000 a year to start, you're going to grow on your job, assuming that you don't do crazy things like beat up your fellow employees. You're going to end up growing on your job. And when you get to be 30, you'll be making $55,000, $60,000 a year. When you get to be 50, you'll be making $80,000, $100,000, $110,000 a year, and you're going to move on in your life. That's what this is all about. So your being economically disadvantaged should not be a barrier that stops you from being able to get to the threshold of post-secondary education. That's what you got to get to. You got to get from elementary, secondary is high school education. You got to get from there into post-secondary education, college or vocational certification. If you can get from high school into one of those two programs, your child is going to grow up to be a successful adult. But if you don't get through that threshold, if you don't get to the post-secondary education, then you're going to be a bellhop, you're going to be a lot boy, you're going to be a McDonald's worker, you're going to be working at the lowest levels of income, and you're going to be operating at the lowest levels of life in terms of what life can produce for you economically. And that's how people get set up to start doing things that they really should not do. You start trying to cut corners. You start saying, well, I didn't do well enough in school, but I got a lot of street game. I got tricks, So one simple way to reduce the gap, that was all that was introduction. I just want to get you to the feel of what I'm talking about. One simple way to reduce the gap between the poor and the black and brown versus Caucasian and Asian ACT and SAT scores is talked about in an article written by Sahil Chinoy called A Surprisingly Simple Way to Help Level the Playing Field of College Admissions. This was produced in the New York Times earlier this past week. White and Asian American and affluent students commonly take the SAT more than once, but disadvantaged students are likely to take it only once if they take it at all. Now just think about that for just a moment. If the colleges and the vocational certification programs look at your SAT and your ACT scores to see whether or not you have the academic talent, the academic skill to be able to do well in their programs, and you never take the SAT or the ACT at all, that's like telling the colleges and the vocational certification programs, that's okay, don't worry about me. I don't want to be a student. I don't want a degree. I don't want vocational certification. I want to work as a lot boy. I want to work at McDonald's. I want to work, a job as a sweeper. I want to do the least talented kind of thing that I can do because that's the easiest thing for me to do, and I'm willing to live at minimum wage for the rest of my life. That's what you want. You get off the train wherever you want. If you want to get off at the first stop, that's on you, okay? But new research contains a message for high school students, especially low-income high school students who want to go to college. Take the SAT early and take the SAT often. It's already clear from earlier studies that lack of information is a big reason why less affluent students don't make it to college in the first place. They get less help in navigating the very complex process of applying. The new study finds that another specific instance of this is underrepresented students are less likely to take the admissions test more than once. So they not only do they have difficulty applying for the exam, meeting all of the timelines, the dates and so on, paying the pieces of money you got to pay. The tests aren't free, right? So you either have to have the money or you have to apply for waivers, which we'll talk about in a second, for you to be able to take the test and get the scores back from the test. So, that's part of the process. But the other part of the process is if you take the test more than once, the likelihood is that you will grow in your scores on the test. So encouraging them to take retest, according to this study, as many high income and white and Asian American students do, could close a substantial portion of the income and racial gap in enrollment at four-year colleges. That's the conclusion of a working paper done by Joshua Goodman, Oded Gurans, and Jonathan Smith, three economists who studied over 10 million students who took the SAT reasoning test, one of the two standard college admissions exams, along with the ACT. And they analyzed the effect that retaking the exam had on the students' subsequent scores and their college prospects. They found that, on average, retaking the test improved SAT scores by nearly 90 points out of 2,400. So just think about that. Instead of getting a test score of 1,400 or 1,300, you get a test score of 1,400, right? And that makes a lot of difference in terms of who's going to accept you, what schools you're going to get accepted in, right? So if you live in Buffalo and you only get accepted at Potsdam, that's a long, that's a long way. Right? All right, we have a caller hanging on, and we're going to grab that call real quick. Hi, caller, are you there?
Good morning, Nathan. How are you?
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Very good. A couple of quick things. I happened to be watching TV yesterday and noticed that Amazon was rated under the Obama administration one of the 12 worst employers to work for. That they're not very good with their employees. So I guess the question I have is, what are they actually teaching our children in school? And is it actually beneficial to them a little bit later on? I mean, we've touched on cursive reading and writing, and we've talked about philosophy, creation and evolution, and yet creation is not allowed to be talked about in the public school system. But I look at the disservice that is being done because our kids can't even begin to reach their greatest potentials, especially when you leave God out of the picture. And I'll just share this with you because you watched it firsthand, and I don't have to talk about it with you. But it was just 12 years ago. It was just 8 years ago. I used to look at a ruptured star, and it was this month when I actually did a bilocation. It's when you're in two places at the same time. Mm-hmm. But the bilocation was not in the same moment in time. They were in two very different moments of time. In other words, I actually moved into the future. But yet, our kids are being taught that this is not possible. In fact, we're so busy glorifying ourselves that we're worried about global warming instead of worrying about, I don't know, other things. But I'm not going to get into that now. I'm just going to wish you a happy Memorial Day, and I just wanted to share that with you because with God, all things are possible, as you already know. And depending on where you go to work, it does make a difference. But I really do feel that our kids are being shortchanged in a tremendous way. God bless you, my friend.
All right, God bless. Thank you, and happy Labor Day for you. We have another caller hanging on. Let me grab that call real quick. Hi, yes, caller, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Hi, I got you now. How you doing?
Yes, this is Naomi Suri. I'm a school administrator with the Buffalo District. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good to hear from you.
Yes, I'm definitely calling because I'm passionately and very committed to this conversation because we are waiting too late to address the ACT and SAT situation. Students' literacy levels and proficiency levels should be caught way earlier. We should be starting with pre-K1 and pre-K2 within our school system across New York State. Students need to be starting earlier with language development, cognitive development, critical thinking, writing skills, grammar, phonics, decoding. And if parents and teachers and schools catch those things earlier, then there needs to be a therapeutic plan that addresses their literacy levels. So they were starting at that end. So once those students begin indoctrination from pre-K all the way up to high school, then they're able to do better on the ACT and the SAT tests. We are waiting entirely too late for the indoctrination of the support of good literacy, not only in reading and writing, but as well as in math. We're receiving high school students at ninth grade who are reading 3 and 4 years below grade level. There is definitely a way to put policy in place to mandate that students in earlier grades who are having difficulties go to a non-GAP program in the summertime that provides a therapeutic reading environment or academy. And during the school year, that reading programs reflect true areas that deal with therapeutic reading. We have cut 30 to 32 reading specialists in this district. Literacy coaches have been cut. So these are the kinds of things that should be saturated in, especially schools, struggling schools, variety schools, where students are struggling in those areas. It is not a difficult issue. It is an issue that can be handled and should be handled, and our community should be outraged that it's not handled.
You are so on the money. That is exactly where I'm coming from in this program. And what I would hope that we could do, if we could get you together, are you familiar with Sam Radford?
Oh, I'm so good. Sam knows me well.
Okay, good. Because what I'm trying to talk, I had a conversation with our mayor. He's really in our corner on this. I want to try to bring together a multifaceted approach as to how we address this issue. Because I'm a believer in mastery education. I don't think that we should wait until, a year and a half after you were tested to find out that you really didn't get what you were supposed to have learned. I should know within, if I test you at 10 o'clock, I should know by 10:30 that you don't know what I taught you, and I should start getting you into remediation at 10:30 today. I shouldn't keep waiting, to get this done and whatnot, right? If we adopted a mastery education approach, I don't think we would end up with so many kids doing so poorly. Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
Because you're catching them early, you're looking at patterns of areas of literacy difficulties and writing and comprehension, and also processing, how students process information and how their learning styles are. We are not, I repeat, starting earlier enough in this engagement. You have to remember our white counterparts. They may have parents or they may have earlier programs that private schools, they provide pre-K1 and pre-K2 because those students are indoctrinated earlier in language.
That's right.
When you come to kindergarten, you're supposed to have so many words or vocabulary within your vocabulary bank. If you don't, you're starting out off the wrong foot in kindergarten.
Right. You should be at least at 3,000 words when you enter kindergarten that you understand.
Exactly. And we are way far behind.
Right.
As a people, and not just African Americans, Latinos, as well as our refugees who need support, and immigrants who need support in transitioning to be fully bilingual in both languages or 4 to 5 languages. Many of our immigrants come in with knowing more languages than we do. But needless to say, we are not doing enough on the front end to load the back end.
Well, I hope I could get you to get involved with us. If you can give me a call at the office, at my office at 881-5150, and ask for me. I'd like to get you hooked up with our collaboration. This is going to take us a little time to assemble the infrastructure of all of this, but I think that there's a way for us to utilize our church bases, our community centers, utilize our schools. I think that we can think this thing through, then we just have to orchestrate the resources. I know that everybody's got their issues about how much money they got to pay, teachers and administrators and contractors and all that. I get all of that, but at the end of the day, we're spending $1 billion of public money to educate 33,000 kids, and I just think that for that kind of money, we should be getting a lot better results than what we're getting. So,
absolutely,
we have to reorganize ourselves. So I appreciate it if you could do that for us.
I will certainly call you, sir. Great respect for you and for all that you've done for our community.
Thank you. Much love. Talk to you soon.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye. Let's take our first break, Lee, and then we'll get back into our subject. If you all stick with us, we will sit inside of the break here at Living Right Now.
Do you want to increase your home's value? Do you want to lower your energy bills? Are you in need of affordable financing for your next home improvement project? The CAO Home Improvement Resource Program can help. Just come to their monthly HIRP orientation session every second Wednesday of the month at 564 Dodge Street, Building 400. HIRP staff will help identify the resources you need to get financed, and they'll even help you with completing your application. You won't know what you qualify for until you call them today at 881-6543. That's 881-6543. Learn about all the home improvement programs you may be eligible for and ask about the affordable financing program that can help turn your house into your dream home. Call 881-6543 for more info. It's the Home Improvement Resource Program, restoring value in neighborhoods across Erie County, one house at a time. Brought to you by the Community Action Organization of Erie County.
All right, welcome back to Living Now here at WFO. Power 96.5 FM on your dial. This is L. Nathan here, your host. I forgot to mention that we're here with Emmanuel Radford, who is doing the live streaming of the program. If you have your handheld device or your computer handy, you can type in Facebook in your search field and then type in Living Now. The program will come up. You can see us talking on the air. You can type in your questions, your concerns, or your observations, and we'll answer them on the air. Emmanuel, you've got somebody who...
One question from viewers. What are you feeling about trade skill education being the most effective route to helping underprivileged, poor blacks, and a quicker access to professional development and sustainability?
So I'm glad that question was asked, because there seems to be a perception in this society that you don't need to be as academically prepared to get into a trade school as you have to be to get into a 2-year or 4-year degree conferring program. That's not true. Kids are failing to get into the trade schools and into vocation certification programs because they're not academically prepared. Just because it's called trade school or vocational school doesn't mean you don't have to be able to read, write, and count, to be able to think, to do your own research, to be able to learn from reading. You have to be able to do all of that as well going into a trade school program. Now, trade school may get you to a skill, a certification that allows you to be able to make close to middle class income earlier. That may be true. You may be able to get done in 2 or 3 years, getting to a journeyman level in a particular trade to get certified. So that may be true, but you still have to get ready. You have to get yourself through the threshold to get there. They don't have to take everybody who comes through the door to trade school. They take the most prepared students. As I always talk to your father about, right? Fortune favors the prepared mind. So the parents who are prepared parents, they're able to be victorious with their kids getting through the school system. The ones who aren't prepared, their kids tend to be unprepared as well. And so we have to fight that battle. Do we have a caller hanging on here? I think we have a caller. Yep. Hi, caller. Are you there?
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Hare.
Hi, Mother Dora. How you doing?
Well, I'm feeling pretty good, except I'm just started my dissertation.
You're in the mood there.
For the last 2.5 hours, I've been working on the first part, and I have to fulfill 5 milestones, and I finished milestone 2. So I got 3 more to go, so say a prayer for me, Mr.
I will definitely do that.
It's not easy, plus it's very expensive, so I hope my money holds out. But I just wanted to call, and I certainly am so glad that we heard from one of our most outstanding administrators in the school system who has a great concern for our children. And it was good to hear from her. I remember hearing Dr. Cass speaking on how our students are so far behind, especially in vocabulary development when they start school. And that's something that we really do have to work on. I know as a retired teacher, I'm thinking of during the summer how children regress and how they lose learning if they are not engaged in learning activities. And I know when I started school in the fall, it would take about a month, maybe a month and a half, to just get the children caught up and get them readjusted to learning and to being in the classroom. And that's something that I think all teachers struggle with. So I think a lot of this has to happen in our community. It has to happen in our community centers. It definitely should be happening in our churches. There should be educational and reading programs on an ongoing basis in our churches, because we have large churches, and I know some churches do, but I would like to see all of the churches put reading and learning and developing vocabulary at the top of the list. I think that's very important, and I do want to compliment Mayor Brown for his summer reading program. I know that helped my granddaughter Somalia. She was in that program for almost 8 years. And she recently graduated from Medina College, and she always got high scores. And I credit it with her reading early and developing vocabulary. And so that's important. Now, I can't end this without reminding everybody about my tribute to Aretha Franklin Saturday.
Right. That's this Saturday.
Yeah, and I've been emphasizing it, Mr. Hare, because the Buffalo News announced it, but they put the wrong date.
Oh, good.
So it's this coming Saturday from 2 to 5 p.m. at the Meriwether Library in the auditorium. And I have musicians and dancers and poets and storytellers coming. And at the end, toward the end, I'm going to have the audience stand up, and we're all going to sing Respect. Now, I'm not a singer, so I'm inviting, if there's any singers who are listening to me, please join me. We'll do this around 4 o'clock and help us sing RESPECT.
There you
Respect. Okay, thank you. And by the way, the program is free and open to the public.
Excellent.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hare, for your program.
Thank you, Mother Doyle. Appreciate all of what you do. Continue in your work. And so, as we talk, we need to be about encouraging our students to retake the exam. But I think what Mother Doyle and what Sister Naomi was talking about is so important. We have to get us, as the adults in the community, we have to set high expectations for the children. How do the children know what our expectations of them are? We have to keep saying them. So I don't know if you ever met Arthur O'Eve, right? But anytime I be with Deputy Speaker Arthur O'Eve, and some children came around, he would always walk away towards the children, and he'd ask each one of them what their name was. Then he would ask them what school they went to. Then he'd ask them what they wanted to be, and he would talk to them about how important it was for them to succeed academically, that you got to stay on the mark to achieve that goal. He set before these children that he would, meet, he set what his expectations were of them. Not in some scolding kind of way. He just articulated what his expectations were. And that's what I think that we have to do. All of the adults in our community have to talk to all of our children all of the time. How are you doing in school? What school are you going to? Are you attending all the time? What do you think you want to get into when you get done? Do you know you're going to need to do this and this and that in order to get that done? Here's where you can go that I know that will give you some direction. You can either get a program at the place I'm going to send you, or you can talk to somebody who will be able to connect you to resources. All of us have to be doing this all of the time. At the same time, we have to put pressure on our school board members, that our school board members vote for budgets, vote for policies that support the idea of mastery education. What do I mean by mastery education? Mastery education means that everybody has to master everything every single time we teach it. Period. Why am I spending money to teach you something if I don't expect you to learn it? I insist that if I'm going to teach you something in a public school setting, it means I must think that you need to know this thing. And if I think that you need to know it, I need to make sure that you do know it before I go start teaching you something else. That's what mastery education is about. Sometimes you have to teach something 4 different ways. In fact, in mastery education classrooms, that's what they do. They teach everything in a sort of lecture way, then they do it in sort of a kinetic way where you get to move around. They do it in a tactile way where you have to take things apart, and touch it. They do it in a project learning way where you solve a problem using the skill that they teach in that area of instruction. And then they group students so that you get kids in pods of 3 or 4 or 5 kids to a pod, and then kids take turns who gets to be the leader, the educational leader for that unit of instruction, and so on. And that's how mastery education works, so that you get, not only do you get different styles of teaching the same thing, but you also get things taught in words that are more accessible to the children who you're trying to teach. And using that affective model, you tend to get A, more into kids' heads quicker, and B, you get to know who doesn't really get it earlier, and then you get, some help to that child earlier. All of us have to accept that sometimes your kid's going to stay in school till 4:30. You're going to need an hour and a half to learn what you didn't learn today, right? Because I'm not letting you go to tomorrow until you can show me that you've gotten what I taught you today, right? Why would I let you go on and learn something else? You haven't learned what I taught you yesterday. So That's the model that we've got to get done. And whatever that means in terms of resources, it seems to me that all of these PhD and high administrative people that we have ruling our school system, they should be able to figure this out, right? I mean, we should be able to lay this out for us what we want, and they should figure out how to give us what we want because we're paying for it. They're getting paid. We're paying for it. They should find a way to give us what we want. We have a caller hanging on. Let me grab that call real quick. Hi, caller, are you there?
Yes, sir. As always, a good show, good information. I just want to kind of redirect your thought a little bit, or not your thought, the listener's ear a little bit, that even though he's talking about children and he's talking about the school system, there's a lifelong learning process. And what he's saying can apply to you no matter what your age is, that you can master any subject, you can learn, you can better yourself. And I really want to, and I always do, emphasize the importance of lifelong learning, not thinking that you stop learning as soon as you graduate from any particular school. But always good information, sir.
All right. Thanks, Brother Kamal. And just building on Kamal's thought there, one of the ways that you signal to the children that you are around, if they see you as the adult reading all the time, they're going to think that that's what's expected of them. So I recall, being 3 or 4 or 5 years old, sitting on my mother's lap, and she would have the Courier Express. Those days we had the Courier Express and the Buffalo Evening News. Don't worry about that. It goes back a little ways over your time and whatnot. But she'd have the Sunday paper out. She'd be reading Pogo, stuff like that. But she'd also be reading these political stories about Eisenhower, what was going on during that administration. And my point is that I struggled to get to a place where I could read those words for myself because she just seemed to have so much game. She had so much to say about what she was talking about, and what she had to say was inside this newspaper. It was inside those words. So I fought to learn how to do what she was doing. So by the time I was 2.5, 3 years old, I was already a pre-reader. By the time I was 4, I had a library card, and I could read the newspaper for myself. Now, they were talking about things I didn't know what they were talking about, but the mere fact that I could say the words, I could read the stuff out loud to her, that she would talk to me about what we read. I wouldn't know what she was talking about anyway, but we were talking about it anyway. It made this part of my DNA. It became part of my internalized personal culture, being able to read, to know words, to be able to articulate, in a competent way. That became a part of me. You can set the pace for your children because your children learn from you. Of all of the things and all of the things and people that they learn from in the existence of the universe, the thing they learn from quickest and most is you. So you have to change you. You want to change your children? Change you. Start doing things that model out for your children what you expect them to be, and they will become what you model, for them. So we've got to do that. We got to go to our elected officials. We got to go to the city officials and the Board of Education, our Common Council, and we got to tell people, I need to make sure that my child has resources at school that my child can use to continue to grow. So if school gets done at 2:30, 2:45, and my child needs to learn some more in order to be able to master what was being taught that day, you should use that hour and a half after school as a time period where my child can go and get in-grade course tutorial, to get skill building, to get homework help. You should make that possible for my child in every single school. You can't tell me that we can't manage to take care of all of the kids after school, because from 9 o'clock in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there is a physical seat that every single school-age child in the city of Buffalo gets to sit in a school building. So we already have the seats. Now, it's not my fault that you close the seats at 3 o'clock and don't let anybody use the seats anymore. I'm saying open those seats up. Find a way to get it done. If you have to have people come in and volunteer to run the buildings, after school, find a way to get this done. Don't say that you can't do it, okay? We have a caller hanging on? Let me grab the call real quick. Hi, caller, are you there?
Hi, this is Niger. How are you
Niger,
doing?
how you doing? Good to hear from you again.
Always good to hear from you.
Absolutely.
A lot of times what the public doesn't understand the hierarchy of how education works and the planning of it. And the teachers are on the low rung of it because it is a business, just like religion has a business. If more people went to the church business meetings to understand the finances, but the teachers are on the bottom, and we blame the teachers as if they're making those decisions. Those decisions are made very high up on a congressional, senatorial, lobbyist level, and so the teachers are the messengers. They're not writing the message, and we tend to take it out on like customer service. The people that they're working as customer service. They're not the CEOs and whatever. Okay, but anything also. One of the first things we have to tackle is family planning, because if people don't understand the time to plan for the mentoring, raising of the kid is 20 to 30 years before they're born. So it's what we make of the parent that's going to help. And people must understand their customers. Even in the health field, I make sure I tell those people I'm a customer patient. Because remember I told you a long time ago in your mission statement for the CEO, we have to keep saying again and again that low-income, poverty-ridden people pay taxes. They think they don't have a say-so. They're not invested because they think that's why they don't vote and stuff, because they feel like it's to no use, to a no avail. And those are the subliminal, seductive messaging, encoded messaging from slavery and from Wall Street. So we have to understand that first. We have to teach young men that when you don't grow up in the home where that child is, that makes a difference. Because people really think these things are okay, and they're doing it multi-generational. So they send the kids to the educators to get what they need. There was a program used to air late at night from this guy who was from Buffalo, and I think it was a national program, came out of New York City, and he had a rabbi on, and a rabbi's kid came with him, and he interviewed the kid. So the host was trying to get the kid to talk. And he says, well, what kind of video games you like? Ask him about the contemporary things the kids are obsessed with. And the little boy looked and said, I'm not allowed to watch those things. And he said, so I'm not up to date on those things because I'm not allowed to do those things until the weekend. And I thought that was and this was a rabbi's kid. I said, now you see, we're so backwardly educated, and we don't understand, like prisoners think they're prisoners. And they don't even know they're customers.
Just like slaves think that they're slaves.
They are customers.
Right. Well, the slaves are customers, but they are enslaved. They are not slaves.
But but even their brains, they don't realize they make really good customers when they're repeat buyers. Not only that, I know I digress all over the place, but it's all interrelated, that how they divide themselves up in prisons, the woods, the whites, the blacks, and all that. They don't know that this is what Wall Street gets you to do, like Pavlov's dog, so that they can be busy making money off you, and you're sitting down here killing each other like the gangs, and they don't realize, why don't you turn on them? And you guys come out with a system where you work hard to not come back and understand that even when you're killing up each other, you are giving customers and jobs to more policing, to all that. They don't know they're workers. They think gangs think they're working for each other. Drug dealers think they're working for each other. You go, no, you're not. You're working for Wall Street and the G20 summit. And you're working for the money changers.
Yep.
And they really think they're in control. So, but also when you're not prepared to have children, that mastery of education must extend to family planning before anything. Because if people don't understand, they're encouraged to not do these things because they make better customers. Because Wall Street has us, they're piecemeal.
Mm-hmm.
We're paying them in piecemeal with any and everything we do. They need you to be poverty-ridden and begging, just like churches. We got all these churches, and we're getting poor and whatever. They're corporations. They're businesses.
Najir, we're going to have to rock on. I got to take our last break.
Thank you and blessings. And we will talk longer because one day I'd like to tell you about a lecture I'm thinking of, how to fail in school. I'm a very bright person, but I learned how to fail.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Blessings.
All right. God bless you. Talk to you soon. Let's take our last break. If you all stick with us, we will sit aside of the break here at Living right now.
Do you want to increase your home's value? Do you want to lower your energy bills? Are you in need of affordable financing for your next home improvement project? The CAO Home Improvement Resource Program can help. Just come to their monthly HIRP orientation session every second Wednesday of the month at 564 Dodge Street, Building 400. HIRP staff will help identify the resources you need to get financed, and they'll even help you with completing your application. You won't know what you qualify for until you call them today at 881-6543. That's 881-6543. Learn about all the home improvement programs you may be eligible for and ask about the affordable financing program that can help turn your house into your dream home. Call 881-6543 for more info. It's the Home Improvement Resource Program, restoring value to neighborhoods across Erie County, one house at a time. Brought to you by the Community Action Organization of Erie County.
All right, welcome back to Living Now here at WFO Power 96.5 FM on your dial. I'm here with Emmanuel Radford. This is L. Nathan Hare. I'm here with Emmanuel Radford, who's doing the live streaming of the program. And so because low-income and racially underrepresented students are less likely to get high scores and less likely to enroll in a four-year college program to begin with, the consequences for them are especially significant if they don't do what we're talking about so they can improve their scores on the SAT and the ACT. SAT is the Scholastic Achievement Test. The ACT is the American College Test. Equalizing the retake rate by income would close up to 20% of the gap between black and white students, between low income and middle income students. Equalizing the retake rates by race would close probably at an additional 10%, according to the study that I mentioned earlier. The College Board or SAT exam offers free waivers. You qualify, you don't pay the fee for students who qualify for subsidized meals at school. So if you're in a family where your child qualifies for subsidized breakfast, subsidized lunch, you are automatically entitled for a waiver of the fee to take the SAT and the ACT and the SAT exam. The waiver is usually obtained through a school counselor. It lets eligible students take the SAT twice, right? So you can get your second bite at the apple and send their scores to colleges at no cost, saving at least $129. To encourage retaking, the study's authors recommend making clear to low-income students that fee waivers are available. But financial barriers are not the whole story, because more than half of the students who used a waiver did not retake the exam. So there's a thought process here. So you get the waiver. It allows you to take the exam twice without having to pay. You take the exam the first time, and then don't come back and take the exam a second time, even though it's already paid for. Why? Because it's a chore to sit for 6 hours for the exam. Is that the issue? The average student first took the exam at the end of the 11th grade. I actually took the exam in, I think, my junior year, sometime in the spring of my junior year. And then I took the exam again in the fall of my senior year. And actually, I got the same score. This is when the exam only had 1,600 points to it. And I scored 1386 the first time I took it. I scored 1386 the second time I took it. So I guess I was that's as smart as I was ever going to get. I hit my threshold. Right? It says encouraging disadvantaged students to take the SAT more than once is a relatively inexpensive way to improve their chances of attending a four-year college. When I talk about the fee waiver, if you're taking the ACT, to take the exam costs $46, but you can get a waiver if you're eligible for subsidized breakfast and subsidized lunch. You can get the ACT exam with writing for $62.50, but again, you can get the waiver of that. The first reports that you have to send out to colleges, you can send out for free. So you don't even have to apply for a waiver for that. And for the SAT, there's even more waiver opportunities. So listen, we got a caller hanging on. Yep, let me take that call real quick. Hi, caller, are you there?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Hare. How you doing today?
Hey, how you doing, Sam?
This has been a great conversation. I just want to say that, for kids who obviously go to City Honors and Olmsted and some of the, criteria-based schools, you have enough counselors, and counselors are on top of it, and mainly because parents are on top of it. The information that you gave today was very, very critical, and I'm hoping that if there are people who are listening, parents who are listening, who have children that go to schools other than them, to understand that you're going to have to take the initiative, because it's just not going to be, the likelihood of a counselor coming in and sharing that is just not really good. And so I think it's, the hope is that parents, adhere, and people who are hearing it's to tell parents that this opportunity is available, and it's going to be on us to get our children to take advantage of this opportunity, because, obviously, to the point you made earlier, Mr. Hare, the prepared parent knows this. The prepared parent, the school district has a bias to a prepared parent, and they make sure this gets done. So our hope is that those who are listening will transfer this information on. And if you want to get more information, to be part of parents that are working together to be able to, follow through on this, the DPCC meets every second Tuesday, so it'll be meeting on Tuesday, September 11th from 6 to 8 at the Mikowski School, and we deal with just this type of issue and this type of support for parents.
And so, Sam, I also want to build in, we just need to do some more talking and build some meat on this bone. I had a conversation with the mayor about this about a week and a half ago, and my thought process is this. We've got to organize as intensive and infrastructure built a process for ensuring that all of our kids are getting everything they possibly can get to have them prepared to be able to take the SAT and the ACT when they're juniors, and then take it again when they are seniors. They might have to take it twice while they are seniors, but we should be using the school system to get them ready to get that done. When I went to school, and I know everything I say always comes out of my own process and whatnot, right? But I got a scholarship to get to high school. That's how my thing went, and I was put into an honors class. And in my honors class, which actually started at 7:15 in the morning, they taught you how to take the SAT and the Regent Scholarship exam. That's what you did for like an hour and a half every morning. They drilled you on stuff. They taught you how to use the information in the courses that you were taking. So you'd figure out what are the kind of things in those courses that are going to be repeated on the exam. And then you drilled yourself on the exam. I don't think I ever scored less than a 99th percentile on any of those exams that I took, because I was being prepared. It was like normal to me. In fact, if I didn't score in the 99th percentile, I might have shot myself. I don't know if I would have been able to.
Well, look here, they have that today. They have SAT prep classes that you can take in the schools. They have SAT prep classes you can take after school as well. And so those opportunities continue to be available. It's just a matter of people knowing how important they are. And again, a prepared parent obviously knows how important they are, and they're having them in those SAT prep classes, and they have them work with the tutors, and those kind of things are happening. Our challenge is getting more important. More parents understand how important it is to get your children into the SAT prep class.
Right, and parents have to make sure that every parent, if there's 1,000 kids going to the school, 1,000 kids ought to be in the SAT prep class. It should be a part of the normal curriculum. At Bishop Fallon, if I'm not mistaken, out of the 96 kids that were in my graduating class, only 4 of them didn't receive at least a half-time scholarship to go to college, because it was a part of the curriculum. Everybody took preparatory classes to get ready for the SAT. It was a part of the culture of the school. In fact, the school would have closed if they didn't have like everybody wasn't.
And I think you make a really good point, because that talks about the expectations we have of our children. When we start talking about our children taking SAT preps or advanced placement courses, everybody begins to make the excuses that our children are far behind, are not ready, and so we set these low standards and low expectations, and parents buy into what people tell them about their children, and so instead of pushing them to get the Saturday, because there are a lot of opportunities for even this stuff at the community schools. So if you go to the parent center in the community schools, there are SAT prep opportunities, there are tutoring opportunities. They're not just for the student, but also for the parents. The parent needs to get their GED, and to the extent that we take advantage of them, the opportunities are there now.
And there's no reason not to get it done. If there's a capacity problem, that's a good problem. If we have more students trying to take advantage of these programs and we have capacity to teach them, then it'll put pressure on the district to reorganize its resources so we get that done. Sam, they got me on the run.
All right.
Okay, I'll talk to you shortly. Take care. All right, bye-bye. Okay, we have another caller. Hang on. Let me grab that call real quick. Hi, caller. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
This is Mrs. Three calling back again.
Sure.
I just want to make sure that it's clear. Those SAT prep opportunities are not in every school.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get to. Yep.
Yes, there is disparity across the district, and I want to make sure that people know that certain schools do have access to that, and certain schools do not. Certain schools have AP courses, certain schools do not. So there is not equity.
We have to help everybody. They got me on I think they got the wheel on me, telling me I got to go.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Daryl. I will talk to you this week, okay? I appreciate you. All right.
Thank you.
Lee, we have just a second or so? Oh, we got to rock. All right. Listen, there's a lot more that we got to talk about on this, but remember, the educational future of your children is dependent upon you. We all have to fight this struggle and fight it together. We'll see you all next week here at Living Now. Living right now.